Halcom Squalo Increased Hilakmat Class Squamish, welcome to the traditional territory of the Squamish Nation. We're in the Public Arts Select Committee of Wednesday, July 4th. Looking for a motion to adopt the agenda. You can't do that.
Yes, I know. I tried to get it.
We're gonna go around the table
Okay.
to introduce new members and the old timers.
Okay, I have two, actually I have 3 items to add to the agenda
Okay.
that came in last minute. 2 applications and the discussion item for ADP. So that's why I wanted to interject, my apologies.
Okay, so we'll add the applications, maybe we'll add them to the beginning?
Yes.
Okay. And then the ADP we'll just add to the end?
Sounds good.
Okay.
The what? AD who?
Advisory Design Panel. So I'm looking for a motion to approve the agenda as amended. Moved by Meg, seconded by Matchik. You nodded. All those in favor? Opposed? Motion carries. Why don't we firstly welcome new members. We've got a great crew here today, but maybe what we'll do is we'll go around the table just so everyone can introduce each other, maybe just say 1 or 2 sentences about what your interests are, your experiences, and what you're hoping to do here. I'm Patty.
The mayor. I'm Fran Solar. I work with metal. I'm an artist. And I initially was curator at the Foyer Gallery next door in the library for several years.
In Languedoc, I'm an artist, and also at Emily Carr, and I have a show coming up at the Foyer Gallery.
August, yes.
This week of August.
Awesome.
I'm Angela Walsh. I am an art educator and an artist myself as well. And I'm new and from Brackendale and very excited to be here.
Welcome.
I'm Sydney. I'm the past chair of the Squamish Arts Council and still a representative of the Squamish Arts Council. And yeah, been on this committee for almost 2 years now. It's been a really awesome experience.
Awesome. Nice one.
Hi, I'm at the Downtown BIA. I'm here because Sydney told me no. I'm here supporting Stan just to talk to you about some suggestions that we have for a mural downtown.
Awesome.
And because it's downtown, I thought I would help with whatever I can.
Wonderful.
I'm Devin Guest and I'm the staff liaison for the Public Arts Select Committee. My title is Manager of Arts and Culture, and I work with you guys as the committee on executing the direction which the decisions get made around the table.
I'm Anna DiTomaso. I guess I'm a hobby artist. I love fiber arts. My kids do a lot of art, and I hope to contribute to the committee.
Awesome. Welcome.
Hi, I'm Jackie Menezes. I just moved to Squamish a few months ago. I come from the Toronto art scene and arts and culture, and just hoping to make some contribution and hope to highlight some of the great artists of Squamish and see the sky.
Wonderful.
My name is Meg Fellows, and this is my first year on this committee. I'm a former councillor for the District of Squamish back in the dark ages. I am not an artist. My interest in the arts is music, but it's beyond
We
that.
like to call it the first Renaissance.
And thank you, yes. The project that is the main thing that I'm focusing on right at the moment is the Turtle Trail. So, yeah, so it's more about that later.
Oh, yeah. Some people may not know what the turtle.
I agree, but we'll
Okay.
beat the hook and then.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
Questions?
Yes.
I'm Catherine Atkinson. I joined while I was arts editor at the Peak News magazine. And I left last fall and I started a company called Arts Adventures Canada, and I also make mosaics.
Maciej Walentowicz. I was involved in art and design education for a number of years, and now I'm free from it.
That's why you're sitting at this table. And that's Sarah.
Hi.
I'm going to take her. And Stan. Welcome, Stan. Thanks, everybody. It's so good to see a full complement. We have a pretty committed group of people at the table, so it's we're trying to do some cool stuff. with limited funds, so we're having some good times. Moving on, looking for a motion to approve the minutes from the last meeting. Moved by Meg, seconded by Matchik. All those in favor? Opposed? Motion carries. I'm assuming there's no errors or omissions?
There
Or
actually are two.
Okay, let me know.
I am listed as absent, and I actually
you were there, yeah.
was there. And the
And I was absent, and I'm listed as that.
yeah, and you're listed as there. Well, this is wrong.
Yeah, the minutes from
Sorry.
2016 were sent out originally.
Yeah. So I think you are.
Okay.
I'm still listed as absent, but you are as well.
Okay, so we'll get that corrected.
And the other thing is, on 7, the roundtable discussion, I'm listed as bringing forward an update on wayfinding at the September meeting. Could we change that, please, from wayfinding to Turtle Trail?
Yep,
Because the intention is really Turtle Trail, not simply
yeah,
that one portion.
signage
of
on
it.
the Turtle Trail.
Yeah.
But you want the reference to signage in there?
I
Turtle
would
Trail
just,
signage?
if we can just leave Turtle Trail, I'll just do
Okay.
an overview, and then we'll talk about the arts component
Okay,
of that as well.
great. Excellent. Why don't we address business arising from the minutes in the roundtable, if that's all right? And we're going to move right to our first new item, which is 2 new applications.
Correct. We'll do Stan's first because he's here. So Stan, could you pass around that way?
Join us at the table, Stan. We just have to pull up, oh, there's a chair beside Angela and Anne. No, there's a chair right.
Come on over.
How many chairs do you need?
Lots of chairs.
So Stan, I'll let you go through your application as
Okay,
you're
perfect.
present.
Thank you for bringing it all up.
Yeah, so just, Stan did the first Squamish Murals Festival last year, and we helped a little bit with some funding for that. To give you a history, and he's done a number of murals in and around town.
Yeah, I could pull up some web material if you'd like. All the images are proposed, nothing set in stone. There's been some feedback with the local businesses on some of them, just to kind of incorporate some more small business ideas. So I guess where to start. Last year, I very adventurously thought that more murals needed to be painted in town. I had no ambition to get paid for it. I just saw kind of a need and wanted to kind of facilitate. I had a lot of connections. I've been on the BIA and the Arts Council for a number of years, and just thought that I could kind of contribute in such a way. I work full-time at the House on Brewery as a sales rep, so it takes me away from art, and I'm been fighting to get back to it. Long story short, it was I learned a lot. There were some failures, and there were some successes. We had one artist cancel, which is challenging to find an artist mid sort of festival. So that was really challenging because it basically all fell on me, and then you guys supplied some of the funding, which then made it extra stressful to try to solve the problem.
That wasn't our goal.
No, of course not, but I wanted to make sure that, I'm accountable to what I was saying and doing. We had, what else? We had a surface that was deemed Miller Capilano surface that we couldn't actually use without the dialogue from the district to Miller Cap by the Adventure Inn.
Okay.
Underneath the Sea to Sky Highway, right there. There's also a mural there that has been a problem area. So that was a challenge. And then there was also, and we also successfully executed one on the Freemasons Lodge, but that artist wasn't available as well. So we had this kind of constant flux, and it made it very challenging because I had said I was going to do this certain project, and it had to adapt in order to execute properly. So the challenge was to take the festival and create, make it viable. I didn't want to waste anybody's time or money or funds. There's a portion of money that I actually have still that I didn't use towards the festival because of that one surface that was deemed not accessible. So I just sort of let it sit there because I said I would do it for that, and I wanted to make sure whatever happened would be under the approval of the DOS and the Mural Festival, or the Public Art Committee. So So you have these packages in front of you. I have talked to the businesses and also the stakeholders involved. We are hoping to get a mural on Mags on the highway of a logo in a creative sense, but I put their logo up there just to see what that would look like.
Sorry, on the building?
On the building. Everything that I've proposed is on the exterior of the building. I don't think I have a... Oh, that's okay. I thought you looked on it. That's great.
Oh, on Mags.
The only quick thing on that, and I just know it because I was reading the public art policy, I just can't find it right now. It does say that logos and stuff aren't considered part of public art policy, but if there's a logo on something as a sponsor, then it's, like, I can't remember exactly,
Okay.
but it's in there, so that might not be just logos
Sure.
probably can't fund, but
Yeah, we're like, and like I say, this is a learning process for me.
Yeah.
I mean, like last year, I didn't make any money off this. All the money went towards artist fees and materials. I obviously helped, but I didn't take any funds from
Yeah.
anything. So I just
Yeah.
want to make sure that's very clear.
that's absolutely
Okay.
understood.
Okay. So the logo, like I said, these are all proposed. They could be adapted. There's a couple of things I'm basically hoping for. Was funding for this year's 3 walls for artist
I was
fees.
gonna say, are there three walls that you're...
Proposed 3 walls these year. So the first 2, the blue, are it's just a very long, like sort of panoramic view. So it's 2 sections.
And where's that?
And that is at the Adventure Inn. So it's a very highly touristed area.
So the Adventure Inn is the one on the highway near the Mount Con Blind Channel Bridge, and it's part of the highway infrastructure going up.
And then the second one is proposed at the Lotus Garden. After talking with the owners and the Business Improvement Association, we're kind of looking at just the first section with the flamingo. The second half, they're really excited to sort of create like a interactive kind of Where's Waldo mural where all the businesses are kind of stakeholders in the mural. So people are seeing like, you know, someone holding a chocolate from Chocolatl or a coffee from Zephyr or something and kind of incorporating that way. So we're going to kind of revisit that area, but considering the timelines of all the discussions, I had to kind of make sure that everything was discussed. So Anne's been really awesome with all the quick timelines because you guys you meet once in a while. So
Yeah. Oh, once a month, yeah.
yeah. So and yeah, the third one is a mural inside the Mags. I used their logo just because they were interested in something like that. It doesn't exactly have to be this, but they wanted something Mexican and sort of their area. So because last year I proposed certain murals with certain artists, and the challenge was to get those people to do that. And so I had a homeowner like get his buddy to paint the wall, and I was like, well, we didn't really agree on that, so that was a challenge. And like I say, someone canceled, and then so one of the services was Miller Capilano. So I can show you online quickly what we went through if you'd like, and then I'll kind of let you guys do your thing.
Maybe it's worthwhile, yeah,
Just to see like what kind of one happened.
So can I ask a question, Stan?
Sure.
Have you started down?
you gotta sit at the table to talk.
Yeah.
I'll
Have you
hear
started?
you do this.
No, you do that.
Okay.
Have you started down the road of getting permission for the land parcels that
Yes.
the infrastructure's on?
Yes, so the Lotus building, they're okay with it. The owners are of Chinatown in Vancouver, and they're fully aware and they're excited. Mags is also on board, and then we also have the Adventure Inn, which was kind of already discussed last year, but we kind of got stopped in our tracks. So everybody's excited for these particular services, but they all have their own unique challenges.
But that particular piece of infrastructure belongs to,
Miller Capilano.
or
MOTI.
Okay,
Yeah.
MOTI. So my understanding was that after talking to someone at MOTI, that DOS has to initiate the dialogue to get that surface painted, and then that can actually be okayed. But this was something late in the game that I had realized because I'm learning a lot.
That makes sense.
Right down there.
Pardon me? Infrastructure.
Ministry of Trans, yeah, and it's actually MOTH, highways, I don't know what, they change the name all the time. Highways, transportation, buses, your stuff, the stuff you love.
Devin, what's the
Provincial,
council,
Yeah.
what's the council guest password?
Squamish?
Is it big S letters?
I think it's lowercase Squamish, but try uppercase S.
Okay, so essentially the mandate, as I mentioned briefly, was to basically promote Squamish's art scene. There's a beautiful amount of area to be painted, and it happens to be a lot of beige. So I was motivated to, show our creativity, and because the town is so busy now, it'd be nice to show the vibrancy that it actually has. All the murals, our artists are paid, and basically I've had to adapt the festival a little bit because the timeline with executing the mural and having the approval and having the funding have all been challenging to delegate because I'm literally a one-man show, and it can be challenging juggling all this while keeping a job, as I'm sure all you know. The festival last year was successful when the we were able to get some really unique surfaces painted that were kind of derelict and not or problem surfaces. The one on the left is on top of the Masons building, Freemason Center. So right now there's a picture of a train on there. We had lost our weather window at the end of August, and it started to rain. So he's the artist that was involved is very happy to keep working on it this summer, if everybody's okay with that. But we had, so this is where it kind of exists right now, and it was proposed to be a different mural. However, like I said, the artist canceled, so I had to kind of work within the history of Squamish in order to make it, a publicly accepted project. So, like I say, there were some challenges, but we overcame. And luckily, Deluxe was very helpful. Now I think they've closed in Squamish, but they had given us a wholesale cost on paint. So the monies went towards that and the time for the artists, which were very minimal. They were all very helpful with the coming to leveraging their time to get the project done. Because sometimes, an artist wants to get paid, but sometimes the budget's not there. So that's where I kind of felt that by me just sort of helping to get things going, it offsets some of the costs.
Who's your source of paint this year?
Hopefully, well, it's not going to be Deluxe, unfortunately, but I've been working with the BIA out of West Broadway. I'm working on a project there, so I'll be using my own materials. So a lot of the materials will come from that, and then also hopefully Rona or Home Depot.
There's Cloverdale paint.
Which is Cloverdale as well. They were helpful in the project under Centennial Way many years ago with the Wind Festival, and that would be really great if they would. I would propose to go there
Do you
as
need
well.
an introduction?
Yes, that would be very helpful. It never hurts to meet the people that are there, or if they're not there anymore. The town seems to be changing dramatically every time I sleep here. I don't get to hang out very much, unfortunately, because my job keeps me driving around. Yeah, well, it's a good problem. I mean, we've been waiting for changes around here for a while. So this is the sort of the process of the mural here. It's in process. I gotta find you a finished photo. Essentially it's a tall ship on the side of the building. It's at the end of 2nd Avenue on the west side, across from the new cidery that's gone in down there, and some of the arts buildings that are in there.
Does the artist also clean and prep the wall?
Yeah, so that's where I come in as well. We'll kind of look at it and suss it out. I've done a lot of public projects, so as long as the exterior surfaces are sort of somewhat clean from moss and dirt, and there's a good exterior primer, then yeah, it's usually pretty easy to work on the surface, but sometimes it can pose a challenge. Prepping can be the hardest part. Yeah, I just kind of wanted to show you guys what I did last year with the effort that you guys offered, and I wanted to say thank you and be very humbled to be able to get this project done. So it would be great to see it happen again this year. But I have.
So what's your monetary ask, Stan?
Last year we had $2,000, I believe, and I have 800 still left over.
Okay.
So, I mean, I don't need the full $2,000, but it would be nice to have the artists pay for their time, and I'm going to leverage my ability to get wholesale costs and on paint and such. So,
Yeah.
and I've been working with other communities, so I don't mind chipping in my own money personally because I believe in stuff like this. So,
So
yeah.
did I miss, how are the artists selected for these murals?
Last year it was juried, so I had an anonymous group of friends. Basically, just sort of this was the idea, but the problem was is that, like I said, one canceled, and the other person was sort of brushed aside because the homeowner had approved a different artist. So I had a challenge with the way the artists were selected. So yeah, this year the idea was to plan the project in a scope and then get artists to help complete the project. So sort of employ people as a group as opposed to individual artists.
Who is your jury?
Oh, sorry?
Who is your jury?
There was a bunch of basically old friends from Whistler, people that didn't know the area. So artists, do you want like a list?
I'm just wondering, just being new on the committee,
Mhm.
and maybe I have the same questions. How are these artists selected, and do
Right.
they know Squamish?
Yeah.
Are the jury selected? Do they really
Yeah, I mean
represent Squamish or?
Well, this was
our
the idea,
vision?
and this was one of my challenges, was that to represent the area, but also to make sure it was relevant.
So you're helping guide that, the themes.
Like curate essentially. So this year would be to basically show that like Squamish is a very outdoor oriented place. It's a very small town, but we also want to reflect the community and create dialogue. So the whole idea is to create dialogue within the area, but not, cause a visual problem, let's say.
I'm wondering, Devin, if you can just quickly outline, so we sort of have this, just for new members, we have this sort of, we get X amount a year. I think this year we got 60,000, but last year we got 50,000. We usually take half of that, and we've been squirreling it away for a large project, which we'll talk about later. And we put a little bit away for maintenance. I think it's $10,000 a year for maintenance. So if we build up a bit of reserve for maintenance, if we need to fix something,
Where
or
do those funds come from?
from the district of Squamish, so it's
okay.
budgeted every year.
Okay.
And we're gonna go through the policy and later to see if that's still how we wanna do things. And then we have a small projects fund of about $15,000 where we can fund, if people come and there's an application process, they come and say, hey, we wanna do a mural here, there's a bit of a checklist, and then we can decide if we say we wanna fund some paint for them or help fund our artist fees, or, so that's essentially what Stan's
So
doing.
it's open to, that we have a portion of money that's kind of open to.
A little bit open
artists
to
that
people
wanna
bringing
come in.
proposals to us.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
and the committee hasn't gotten, in those we haven't sort of, they often will come and say, this is what our concept is. But we haven't necessarily gone into saying yes or no to certain art. Although I think there's a general, and please correct me if I don't say this right, committee, or people of the committee, that we try to make sure it can't be offensive, but we don't want to sterilize it either. We don't want to make it 100% generic either. We want it to be a little thought-provoking and that kind of thing. But I think generally the things that resemble logos and stuff, we can't really support.
Totally fair.
So I think there's general parameters, but I don't necessarily, I think we rely on Stan to do the jurying. If we want to support this, that it would be Stan to do the jurying on this.
Right.
We could certainly set some parameters up, but is
Yeah,
that fair enough, Devin?
The idea is more the surfaces. The images can always be adapted. I'm never hardline about everything. I just want to make sure that the dialogue is open and we can work on things. I mean, there's a general scope of each mural, taking into account where the location is. But that being said, it's getting the projects going, and then making sure that it works within the dialogue with everybody else.
So how much money do we have left in our small projects?
You've granted $500 to the Squamish Arts Council and approximately $2,500 to
The other art, the other mural?
Yeah, the new art for a mural. And so from there, that's $3,000, so in theory, you have $12,000 to be toying with.
Okay. So we have some monies.
Do you look at younger artists as well?
One of the first projects
It stands so old.
I mean like youth artists.
Oh yeah, so I can tell you about some projects that we've done in Squamish. The Fields mural was the first project that I ever did in Squamish with the BIA. I did that with 4 kids.
Anna might not know where the
Are
fields.
you a mural artist actually?
Yes.
Yes, that's the
Okay.
whole reason that
So you are a mural
apt.
artist. This
Yes,
is
so
your- okay.
one of the projects is on the Fields building downtown. Downtown was very different 7 years ago. It was very quiet and creepy at night. But when I came into town,
Fields is
I
in
moved here
the bank, the Royal
Royal
Bank
Bank.
parking
Yeah.
lot, just so people don't.
so I mean that building's still empty. I don't know why that's another issue, but
Because they want to charge a fortune for it.
Oh, is that why? Okay. So the idea was I was at Zephyr and I was like, wow, this town's really interesting, but there's this white wall, and I was like, I would love to paint it. So I went to the BIA meeting and asked them to get this project started. So they were very forthcoming and very excited, and I had just been working abroad, traveling, doing art, and I worked with 4 kids. They had asked the community to submit their sort of kids that were interested, and then over the span of a month or 2, we basically painted this mural, which was great. It was very easy to execute. And then there was another mural over by Centennial Way a couple of summers ago, 2 summers ago actually, that was a little bit more challenging because during Wind Festival, I put the word out to the youth centers and the elementary schools and things like that, and I had no reply at all. I had no feedback, no like, we want kids to do it, but there wasn't the buying into it, which was a challenge. I'd offered to pay them a small amount just to sort of, incentivize the kids, but there was no forthwith. So that posed a really challenge for me because it was one project that I had to do, and I'd already had the funding, and I was like, okay, I have to execute this mural. So I basically did it myself, and it was probably one of the largest murals I've ever done in my life. That being said, yeah, I learned a lot.
So that's the underpass,
It's
the
amazing.
salmon
I
one,
love
yeah.
that one.
The fish,
Did you,
yeah.
you did that
I did
one?
that, yeah.
I
The
think
signage
I
has
saw
been
you,
ripped
they
off.
were painting it, I remember when you were putting it up.
Yeah, it was the hottest August on record.
Yeah.
It was so warm. But yeah, it was a fun project, but it was very challenging. So the idea behind the Mural Festival was to prop up youth and sort of artists that are trying to get stuff done, and I've done a few projects that I can kind of mitigate the in-between. So yeah.
And Stan did the one with Chili Tom that was hanging on the wall of the old,
Yeah, the old Pac West building, yeah, which still needs a home, so.
yeah.
I was just gonna ask.
Yeah, it's still in a storage container. Sydney and I checked it out a couple of months ago.
All right,
I
so,
just have one more
Yep.
just question about it, just because this is new. What about an Indigenous mural?
I completely,
one
I
of the
love the
choices.
idea. I don't feel right about steering that project personally.
Yeah, maybe
this-
bringing somebody in, but
Yeah.
that might be separate. That
Well,
might be
I
another.
read recently that the
Yeah.
district is actually excited about projects like that coming
Mhm.
forward. Artist teams are of such, and there's some certain funding for that. Whether or not the public art committee is involved with it, I'm not sure, but I had read something recently about that.
where's doing it?
Yeah, so I think it's a great idea personally. I would
Yeah.
love the scope of that to be involved with the mural festival.
Yeah.
However, it's a delicate matter, and I
Yeah.
wanted to make sure that I didn't misappropriate anything
Yeah.
and the right channels were used.
Well, I think
Yeah.
if you
Okay.
want, we can certainly engage in some conversations with the Squamish Nation to see if there's an artist who wants to do a mural.
Yeah.
I would love to assist with that, like if there was a gentleman or a lady that has an idea or a group of them that wanted to execute this image,
Okay, we can
I could
pursue that.
be the middle ground to show how
would
that
be
happens.
amazing. I just had when I was coming here, I had a friend who's First Nations. Just tell them we need more
Yeah.
Indigenous art in
I was just gonna
Squamish,
say, so
I just thought I'd
they can
mention that.
execute whatever image they want, right? Yeah.
Well, pretty much, and it just depends on what the idea of the scope of the project is. Like, I mean, Totem Hall has a huge bunch of lock blocks right there, and they're just kind of derelict, and that's like the first thing you see in town. There was a bunch of proposals a couple of years ago, and I'd sent some ideas in to do that, but I felt a little bit offside with, I'm out of my element, let's say.
Yeah, it's sensitive for sure. So, to the committee, I mean, I think this is certainly within our bailiwick of wanting to support something like this. Are people comfortable with $2,000 at this point?
Same as last time?
Same as last time? No issues with that?
I thought
Yep.
that we had 1,200 to play with. Is that from the budget?
We have 12,000.
12,000.
12,000, okay. My mistake.
At a zero.
At zero.
Move the
Very
comma.
important.
Yeah.
What are the expectations coming forward into the fall of any other, I mean, is there anything that's jumping out at us at the moment?
Well, that's the interesting thing with this funding model is that we don't,
It's a little bit of when the funds are done.
yeah,
The funds are done.
exactly.
Yeah.
The fund, when you're out of monies, you're out of monies. And so you still have $12,000 to play with. So, and we're going into like
Yeah.
Q3, Q4.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
I mean, when you think of murals, it's,
Yeah.
think of weather.
Yeah.
But we're not anticipating anything big coming through at this point?
No,
in
this
terms of
time,
applications?
this time last year, you had one or two more
One more.
applications come through,
Yeah.
but not for a significant amount of dollars.
Okay. I was just wondering.
Meg and Sydney.
I'm just wondering, the Truth and Reconciliation call for artists, do we have the funding covered for those
Not for the
projects?
second one. And we'll talk about
That
that.
we do for the first one. I'm just wondering if some of that money that we've got, we might want to reallocate to one of the.
We can discuss that.
Okay.
Yeah. We can absolutely discuss that.
I just wanted to ask Stan, is $2,000 realistic for the site? Because I know it is quite a large scope to do at least 3 to 4 murals. Is that a realistic number to ask for? Or is it something like 2,500?
Yeah, I mean, I'm doing a lot for very little. Like I say, I'm basically just doing this with a passion for the art. So, I mean, any monies you get will be very used wisely. And like I say, I kept money that wasn't used from last year. So,
So he has 2,800 from us.
yeah, so that would be $3,000 this year towards all the projects. Which, I mean, if I can allocate $1,000 pure artist fee, and then I can kind of get the materials where I can. Well, we all know that art is expensive and art fees are
Yep.
expensive as well, and everybody likes to get paid for their work. So
Yep.
I just want to make sure it's realistic to what you guys have on your table, and then what I can kind of do, because I know that I have to hustle to make it all happen. So
The only thing I would consider is maybe talk to the people who own the building where Corsa Cycles is. Because I know there's been talk about redeveloping the empty lot.
exactly, yes.
And so you don't want to build something
I was
that's
gonna
going
say, you don't
to
wanna pay
No,
covered up in a
totally.
year.
Yeah, exactly, and that's why we kind of discussed like the flamingo idea, just because that second half could disappear in the first little while. So, I mean, we can just do the front half this year, and I'm quite okay with it. But it's just a matter of everybody being on board.
It's such a visible spot, even
Yeah.
for a short period of time, it'd be nice to have something.
Well, and it's very problematic. There's a lot of low quality graffiti, and I found that every project that I put a mural up at, that's been quashed. So, yeah.
So you get no tagging.
No.
Oh, good.
So it's a proactive approach to
Exactly.
the mural. There's a project in Ottawa called the Evolving Mural Project or something to that effect. And essentially they allow people to paint there. So you just put up signs, don't be vulgar, don't be profane. And so I think things like that kind of embrace the art, kind of make people raise the bar a little bit.
And also for the mural, the downtown BIA will look at trying to help wherever we can,
Yeah.
doing some sponsorship or anything, because it affects the downtown.
Yeah, I think it's
Area
great when the
is-
business
that
get
wall?
invested in it.
It's the entrance to the downtown core, so we
Yeah.
want to do what we can to.
Maybe we should just understand what the second application is, so we,
The second application is for $400, just to.
okay, I
maintain-
just wasn't sure if it was
yeah.
huge and it would
Yeah,
affect
no,
somehow the
absolutely,
budget.
I would have, yeah.
Okay, so maybe we'll entertain a motion that we support the Squander Mural Festival 2018 to the tune of $2,000 to be added to. Moved by Maciek, seconded by Fran. Any more discussion?
Oh, You mentioned maintenance. How do you plan to maintain these murals?
Well, all the materials are exterior professional commercial grade, so color and intensity stay. They don't need to be coated because they're plastic based.
Oh, okay.
As long as the
surface.
priming and
Yeah.
the starting surface is ready to go, it's fine. The only problem is when people tag over it, that poses a challenge. But the anti-coating, the anti-graffiti coating is rather pricey, so I just, as long as the art is of a higher quality, then usually it doesn't have to be worried about.
Okay.
And on private, like a couple of these are on private property, so they would be responsible for maintaining it
And
technically.
are they aware of that?
They will be.
Okay.
Yeah, but there was a lot of let's get the project moving forward. So, but like I say, I'm doing a lot of this with my own elbow grease. So if there were things to be painted over, I'm sure I'd be the guy to clean it up. So, and another thing, one of the surfaces, like I say, is MOTI surface. So in order for that surface to be allowed, I would need a motion to have the district allow that surface to be acknowledged for public art.
Work with me.
Yeah.
You'll do the legwork, but I'll
Okay.
provide the authority.
Okay.
Um,
Like the
Maybe, so why don't we vote on this motion that's on the floor? So all those in favor? Opposed, if any? Motion carries. Maybe we'll put another motion forward that the Public Art Committee recommends consideration of this mural location and ask council to direct staff to work with MOTI. Is that clear enough, Sarah?
I just need to know where the mural location is.
Pemberton and
Was it?
The address is on the picture. Roughly. 38220 BC 99 East Embankment on Highway.
Okay, I'll just have that on there.
And then we're just going through the proper process.
I'll move that.
Okay, moved by Meg, seconded by Catherine. I'll call the question. All those in favor? Opposed? Motion carries. Thanks, Dan.
Thank you for your time, guys.
Awesome.
Thank you for your
Just
time.
one quick question. When you're painting on the side of the highway, is there safety barriers and things like that?
This is-
providing
he's not-
safety?
This is actually the parking lot
Oh,
facing the
okay.
highway, so it's literally,
separation.
yeah.
I
It's
saw Highway
That's the
99.
highway.
Yeah,
That's
it's
the
okay.
highway up there.
No, valid question.
Yeah.
Yeah, the inn is behind and it's.
Want to keep our artists alive.
Yeah, absolutely.
No, that's,
No, it's
yeah.
Yeah.
They're down on it.
Awesome. Thanks, Dan.
Oh, yeah.
Precinct registry.
And Jackie, if you have contacts for Stan
Yes,
with
I
Cloverdale, that'd be
Yeah.
awesome.
Yeah, any help is great. I
Yep.
can leave my business cards. I'm sorry, they're house sound business cards, but if anybody needs beers, well, it's pretty straightforward.
Beers or two.
Yeah, so,
Are you always looking for spaces to?
always,
Oh, I see.
always.
Let me write a book and I'll write it in your book.
Good to know. Just hand the
Yeah, no, any services.
Do you look
I like to do this
outside
every
of the
year.
downtown? Like, do you ever look in the other neighborhoods?
I would like to. I just thought the downtown was kind of,
Bigger walls?
yeah, it's commercial and
Commercial,
private spaces are a little bit challenging, and I want to make sure that downtown's got a color that everybody else will be into.
Yeah, okay.
I had to start somewhere.
Yeah.
I'd love to though. I entertain any ideas for sure.
You have that one?
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you, everyone.
Thanks.
Thanks, Dan, very much. Thanks, Dan.
guys. I didn't do much, but oh well.
Moral support's always good. All right, Devin, what do we have next?
The second application in front of you is for approximately $400 to assist with, I gave out all the applications, a painting with the Multi-Faith Organization, thank you. The Junior Youth Empowerment Program, as run through Geraldine Guilfoy, who you might also be familiar with her Multi-Faith Association. They're looking to do some painting in the dumpster.
Oh, we just talked about that.
Yeah, we did.
Yeah.
Is it the same group?
Different group. So they're looking to cover their cost of supplies. as outlined in their budget to the tune of $400. I have not had the conversations with Kearney about whether or not they'd be open to them painting the dumpster there, but I can, should you guys approve this application.
So just remind me, was the conversation about this just as other public art walls that we were considering? Or was there an actual application on
There
this?
was an actual application for it from the Squamish Arts Council. They since decided on a different location.
Okay.
So this is the concrete wall, not the actual dumpster itself?
Correct, but the dumpster gets nestled in there.
Oh,
Oh, they
So-
want to paint this wall,
Yeah.
just the back of it there that we can see.
No, they want to paint the whole thing, which is why you've got the two images.
Oh, front and back.
And you said that they might want to paint the dumpster too, but that can be negotiated with the.
Exactly. I haven't had the
GFL or
conversation
whatever
with
it's called.
Kearney's.
Yeah.
What are they painting on?
I was gonna say,
it?
what's the design?
What's the image, what are they putting on it?
I would say that they're not there yet. This is a youth group. Let's manage our expectations accordingly.
Sure.
Yeah, if you're looking, it's up to you guys in terms of if you want to determine.
They even have a theme, like what they want.
Have a look at the application.
Oh, I see it. See, this guy wants me to
Meg?
do. Oh, blue and white colors, oh, I see.
I would really like to support this application.
Solid single color. Oh, yeah, okay. It gives them an opportunity to learn about how to mural paint and how to work as a team.
It's such a nice, low level
Yeah,
to work on as
Yeah.
well.
lots of
As a canvas.
learning
And we
opportunities.
were talking about young people as well.
Yeah.
That young people
Well,
are.
yeah,
And patiently waiting with their phone.
sorry.
I think it's a great idea, but I think it would be, good to see a sketch of some sort, or maybe a few different things, just to get a sense of where they're going with this. But yeah, of course,
But
it's a great idea.
they give a pretty good description here on the back.
See this guy mostly in blue and white. Yeah, I think I'm just going to be brutally honest here, that I don't think, I think it would be a different conversation if we think it's going to be overly religious in one way or another.
Yeah, I don't think.
But I don't think that's the intention here.
We can put that caveat in there that you're made neutral. But it doesn't sound like it's going to be
And-
religious or anything like that.
Yeah.
I think we could follow Anne's idea, and if it's possible that staff can actually have a look at maybe 3 kind of ideas or concepts.
Yeah.
Be run through staff, because I don't know that we'll be meeting.
In relation to this.
Angela, Sydney.
The art teacher in me would say, I need to see a sketch first. And I just think that that's important for
Learning?
For
Their
the learning
process.
process. They're young, and I mean, give them $1,000 for sure, I have no problem with that, but I think taking some accountability and some ownership over that is very important.
It's
So
also,
I think they should be showing a sketch or two for free, just so that
it's
they-
also our precedent, right? So
Exactly.
you want to have your process in place for any kind of project.
But more than anything, it helps them learn.
Yeah, it's part of the learning
Totally.
process, it's something that I include in all projects, bring it to me, so.
I would just note that we wouldn't have the opportunity by their completion date for this committee to look at a sketch, or do we have to go through staff?
What I was thinking is
Or-
maybe 1 or 2 committee members wants to almost be just the mentor or someone that they refer to. And we just delegate that to a couple members who can be sort of a sounding board for them. If people want to volunteer for that.
Painting 24/7 all summer.
On a painting marathon.
So you're saying you're going to need a little distraction and work with some young
Yeah,
people?
I'd say that I'm very open to sharing that process with other people who would be painting.
Awesome. Anne and Anna have sort of put their hands up. Everyone okay with Anne and Anna just being sort of Devin, so we can coordinate that, just say that we have a couple board members who have, committee members who have volunteered to help mentor or provide guidance on this, and that's awesome. Thank you. So it sounds like everyone wants to support this. Is there a motion?
Yeah, I'll put the motion forward to support this, subject to review by a couple of committee members of some sketches. Approval.
And approval by Kearney's? too? Do they have to approve it?
Well, I don't think they don't have to approve our infrastructure, but if they are gonna allow painting on the
Dumpsters.
dumpsters,
Yeah.
On
yeah.
the dumpster, yeah.
So moved by Meg, seconded by Sydney. Any more discussion? I'll call the question. All those in favor? Opposed, if any?
Not opposed, I'm in favor.
Jackie's
opposed? No, not
kidding.
at all.
Motion carries unanimously. Awesome. Thank you very much, Devin.
Can I ask a really quick question
Mhm.
about these public art applications? How does the public know about them? How do artists know that this money is available to them? And how was this application acquired by them? Like how?
So it's, we don't overly, every once in a while we'll throw it on social media or something like that. We don't overly promote it. It's on the website. You can go on there. There's the resources on the website. You can download it and make the application. But that's the extent of it. We could certainly promote it more. We can talk about how we might do that. I think when we originally did it, we did send out a notice to the art teachers in the schools, I think.
The nice thing about these is that you don't have to be an artist with a business license.
Mm-hmm,
You could just be an emerging artist, you could be youth, you could just.
And we get, I don't know, 3 or 4 or 5 a year, depending on,
Yeah.
we seem to be starting to get more and more.
And also, I'll also just point out that this committee, although this is nice to have these flexible funds, it's not necessarily the sole purpose, and that we have the Squamish Arts Council, the District of Squamish grants the Squamish Arts Council a significant amount of money to, in fact, administer grants, art grants throughout our community.
Yeah.
To groups, like youth groups and
Correct.
artists who may not have the license and
Yeah.
the business license.
Correct.
Yeah, I
Okay,
mean-
that's great, okay.
Yeah.
We're just at the start of our 4th year of the committee, so we're still learning,
Oh,
you know,
is
we're
that
still
right?
The third
setting
year,
it up.
before, I guess
Well,
we're
we're
into
just
the
starting.
fourth,
This is a
yeah.
new
fourth year.
committee.
The policy is pretty explicit
Oh,
on
wow.
that, actually, so
Okay.
once you start reading it,
Awesome. We're gonna move on to policy review. Has everyone read the policy?
It's a meaty policy.
Yeah.
It's really good.
It's pretty good. As you can see, it was very much driven by the Arts Council of the day. And there are certainly some references in there that have not come to an existence. So for example, it calls for a public art manager or coordinator. Really, we've brought that in-house, and Devin is sort of acting in that role. I think the Arts Council of the day thought they would have staff members at some point. And so I think that's certainly an evolution that may still happen in the future, but it's not there now. So the committee can obviously consider how we, some of these things in there. So I'm just wondering, I've gone through and sort of highlighted some pieces that I think the committee should sort of put their minds to. If other people have done that too, or we can just sort of start where I've highlighted, and then I'm open to any suggestions.
Just on the note of the Arts Council within the policy, this might be a good point to bring up. The Arts Council doesn't have, so my seat currently is a member at large, it doesn't have a designated seat at the table, and I guess I would put to the committee to consider that, as it does play a role in between these two committees and relationships and what we do and what the committee does, and it seems to be a natural connection.
What, as in, the suggestion may be to alter the terms of reference to put a specific Squamish Arts Council seat.
Yes,
Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah, and we can do the terms of reference first, doesn't matter, if we, or do the policy first, either one, happy to, we can just do it all at once too. For example, the BIA, I think, does have a sitting member.
Yes.
But the Arts Council does not. I was surprised to find out that the Arts Council didn't, so.
And what about the Squamish Nation?
Squamish Nation has a spot at the table.
It has, okay,
Yeah.
sure.
So I thought we'll definitely do that. I thought right up front, roles and responsibilities, number 2.2, it says public art coordinator is an employee of the Squamish Arts Council and is responsible for supporting the public art committee by. Certainly is not what's transacted so far. And I'm wondering if at this point, and I'm not saying we might not want to go there in the future, but at this point, just maybe we should clarify that public art is coordinated through a designated staff person at the district.
Yeah.
And we could even add, until such time as it's determined that it be done by somebody else. There is reference in here to, in 5 years, evaluating whether or not it should be an external organization or whether it should still be within the district of Squamish. So maybe we just change that sentence.
Or do you want to bring that in as part of budget considerations in the fall?
I don't think, at this point, we don't need, like if it's Devin's role is
Okay.
already in the budget. I think we have 1 more year, and the public art policy says after 5 years, so let's give it that 5 years. And then the next budget year, if the committee says, yeah, this would be really good to be an arm's length or under the Arts Council or whatever the committee decides, then we can make that recommendation and we can add a budget item. But I think we're sort of about a year and a half away from,
Yeah.
2 years away from that.
Having read some job descriptions for part-time roles like this and full-time roles.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, and
think we're quite there yet.
I just want to be clear, as arts and culture manager, my portfolio is event permitting, filming permitting, public art committee, and a few other things. So, yeah. So I don't want there to be. I want it to be clear on what the portfolio includes and how my time gets allocated towards that.
Yeah, and that's part of the discussion when we, council's discussion on how we allocate Devin's time, but also on the committee going, yeah, we have too much work for the attention it's getting. We need to start thinking about the next step. But I think we're probably a year or 2 away from that, at least.
Yeah, speaking on the Arts Council's behalf, I think that what you're suggesting does make sense. I'll explain.
Okay, so we'll, that sentence will read something like, the public art will be coordinated through the appointed district staff person, and is responsible for supporting the public art committee, and that's fine. Do we want to add a sentence? I think there's something after that talks about evaluating 5 years, so we'll just maybe add that there. I didn't really have any problems with 2.3, 2.4. I thought it would be good to have a bit of a conversation with the committee about 2.5. The Squamish Arts Council is responsible for supervising the public art coordinator, so maybe just change, well, anywhere it says public art coordinator, and maybe supervising is not the right word. We're not supervising Devin.
Liaising?
What's that?
Liaison.
Liaising, yeah. Making recommendations to council for new public art committee members, absolutely. Allocating operational funds, public art coordinator position, not relevant currently. C. And managing the public art inventory. Oh, this is the Squamish Arts Council. D. The public art committee can certainly make recommendations. Allocating operational funding for the public art coordinator position, that is not the Squamish Arts Council's responsibility, correct, Sydney? Unless you want to.
Nope, that's not.
So I think that whole section probably needs to be revised.
I agree.
And it may even be taken out at this point and maybe added in should something change in the future. Does that make sense, Sydney?
Yep, I would say so.
I went down, didn't really see any issues with 2.6 or 2.7. It's just sort of generic stuff. Funding. So there's reference to funding the public art coordinator position, so I don't think that's relevant yet, so we'll probably take that out. Ongoing maintenance of public artwork, yes, that's our function. And acquisitions if we want, or operational. And then 3.2, the public art fund may receive funding from District of Squamish budgeted allocation amount to be determined each year by council. We may want to reflect on how that might be articulated in this differently, maybe not. Projects where private developers have opted to fund, to contribute funds. So currently, we don't have public art in the voluntary community amending contribution policy. So I thought that's worthwhile for the committee to make a recommendation that it be considered. I think there's two pieces. One is, I think, new developments, it should be just considered part of the development. But there's an above and beyond piece that is in addition to what's sort of the baseline for public art within new developments.
Can I ask a question about that? Item 5 actually is specifically community amenity contributions in public art. My question is the definition of voluntary, does that come off the amenity contributions? Is that a contribution or is this in addition to? I'm just wondering why that word voluntary.
Okay, I will tell you what. Under the community charter, we can't extort money. It has to be voluntarily given. So any community amenities that are part of a rezoning application are technically
contributions,
voluntary contributions. And that's why the word voluntary is there.
So for parks, that is a
that's not
legally, whatever it is, and this is a totally different category.
Okay, yeah, so let me clarify. So when a development application comes in, they have, I've got 5 acres, I want to put 100 homes there. We have a process, so they need to rezone it from X to Y. With added people there's a need in the community for amenities. That could be, currently our policy is mostly towards affordable housing fund. It could be parks above and beyond what is statutorily, like you have to do 5% or whatever is in our rezoning policies, X amount of green space. So there's from parks' point of view, there's an expectation of a baseline for parks. If they're adding above and beyond what that 5% is, that might be considered as part of the voluntary. So let's take Garibaldi Springs, for example. In their proposal, they're proposing 80 acres of a 118 acres or whatever it is as ecological reserve green space. That's way more than the 5% that they're prescribed or required to do. Yeah. So that can be considered as part of a voluntary community amenity contribution. So the baseline is you put your roads in, your sidewalks, your pipes, public art. I think that's something the committee might want to say is we expect, just like we expect a nice building, and it could be outlined in the development permit application process or something, that there's a baseline of public art. A lot of the developments are now saying, yes, we're going to do $100,000 or $50,000 of public art. What I'm suggesting is that maybe that should be simply the expectation of a good development, but if you do something above and beyond a certain amount, that can be considered as a voluntary community management contribution. Did that confuse things or help?
No, I was thinking that 5%, which is mandated, that's law, period. There's no argument about that.
That is not voluntary.
That's voluntary is something that's totally different.
Is above and beyond,
Yeah, and I was also curious because the district, it says in here someplace that 1% of projects that are above $1 million, would be dedicated to art.
Okay, we'll get to that. That's a complicated.
I'm just wondering, the reason I bring that up right now is that a reasonable kind of standard to set not only for the district of Squamish, but for developers?
So
I'm only flying an idea.
Yeah, no, and the wording of that is weird. So what that is saying is that in a budget cycle, let's say the district has $10 million of district projects they're doing. 1%, so $100 million of that, should go to the Public Art Committee funding. The problem with that is some years we've got $12 million of projects because there's a big DCC project going in, and it's not equated on grant funding. So if we're getting $4 million to do dikes, or if we have a $4 million dike project, we get 3.2 from the feds to do it, it was only 800,000 that would, so it became a really weird number that some years the Public Art Committee might get $100,000 and other years $20,000, because there's only $2 million of projects that we're funding through. So they're district projects, water, sewer, pipes, roads, and they're only allocated on projects over $1 million. So you have all these 3 and 4 and 2 and $500,000 projects. Cumulatively, they might be a couple $1 million, but they wouldn't be, so it became a really cumbersome number to work out. And so what council and staff have done is simply said, we'll do $50,000 a year. It moved up to 60 last year. 65.
57.
58, yeah, something like that. And I can't remember why it moved up. I think it was a percentage increase or something.
Yeah.
Anyway, so does that make sense?
So I do, I totally get that. And
Yeah.
I understand how that's changed and it's not really reflected in here, which I totally get that and I don't have a problem. What I'm interested in is developers when they come, it seems to be very, at their discretion.
There's nothing in the policy that requires any percentage or any amount of public art in development. And that's, I think, where I think the committee can have some influence on trying to change that.
And this,
Not only the policy here, but also in our DP guidelines, development permit guidelines. If I speak in jargon or acronyms, please slap. There's a couple different, I'll just quickly go over development processes. There's OCP, Official Community Plan. That's a bylaw change. Usually people are doing that because they're doing a rezoning application. Rezoning is changing land use. So it might go from resource to residential, or it might go from residential to commercial C4, which is a combination of commercial and residential. We've got a whole bunch of zoning designations. So anytime people want to change land use, they have to go through a rezoning process. At that point is where we can, in theory, ask for voluntary community amending contributions. And we've set it as, if you're proposing 200 single-family homes, I'm trying to remember the new numbers, it's $16,000 or $18,000 per home go to CACs. If it's multifamily or that type of thing, we do it on a dollar per square foot. So it's it used to be $6. I think it's $15 a square foot now. So if you have a 50,000 square foot apartment building, you get $15 a square foot, and it doesn't include commons. It's a bit of a weird equation. Anyway, make it simple, $15 a square foot on multifamily, so townhomes and condos, 15,000 or 18,000 per single family home.
Does that CAC go in one big pot for all of Squamish, or does it go specifically for the community where that development is taking place?
That is one big pot for all of Squamish.
Okay.
That sometimes they propose voluntary community amendment contributions that are specific or augment the neighborhood or the streetscape or something close to that. Generally, that's not what council looks for in CACs, because it shouldn't be the have and have-nots neighborhoods. It shouldn't be just new developments are getting nice streets and old neighborhoods get nothing. So our interim policy was allocating most of those funds towards affordable housing, because housing is by far our biggest challenge right now. And so we've been accumulating funds in that, and we have a purpose-built rental building we're building with BC Housing and a few other things. So, but council sort of backed away on that and said it's going to be more discretionary to council to say 20% might go to this, and essentially there's a money part, and then if people are actually providing a bricks and mortar piece, you might take that off the money equation. It's a formula, it's a calculation. But it tries to set up an expectation of what a developer would contribute to it. So now we have more of a general. We've just I'm getting a little bit ahead or behind everyone, but we've just completed a real estate master plan, a facilities master plan, which looks at all of our facilities, all our, our fire departments, our rec centers, this building, a whole bunch of things, and prioritizes the needs to replace those buildings. We have asset management plans, which look at all our streets and how we need to replace those. We have water and sewer, master plans. So we've got all this stuff master planned. We know how much money we need to spend in the next 20 years, which is $480 million or whatever it is. And so we've now then prioritized them and put them into a 10-year financial plan to figure out how and when we pay for everything. And so we're organized. Contrary to popular belief out there. And then, so now the CACs are going more into a general amenity thing, so we can say, okay, we want to take X amount and put it towards a new skating rink or X, yeah. So we've, yeah. And we've also created the system within the rezoning applications where we're pretty much getting about 10% purpose-built rental within development applications now. So the developers will build the purpose-built. The challenge there is we don't know when they're going to build it. Markets might flatten, they won't build it, or it only comes in phase 3 of their project, or when they sell X amount, so you're not going to get it for 8 or 10 years. So you don't have as much control when developers are doing it. Way off topic. But it's good background information.
Yes, interesting. Yes, good to know.
And I guess the question is, where is it on priorities, and is it in the public art? Yeah, is that part
There's
of
nothing
that?
in the CAC policy that prescribes public art, although it is allowed. Like, we could consider it, but it doesn't say X% to public art. But public art is theoretically one of the things that CACs could go to. But it would be at council's discretion at this point. It's not like X amount goes, 2% of the CAC goes to public art. Now, the committee can make a recommendation to say, the challenge there, is that if we all of a sudden say, the committee says, take 1% of CACs, sometimes that money doesn't come in up front. That's money down the road. Secondly, council may go, well, if you're going to get money from the developer, then we won't budget for it. But might not always result in more money for public art.
Yeah.
But I think it's good to, and I'm not saying committee shouldn't go there, but I think it's just important how it's worded or how it's articulated to council and how it's considered within the CAC portfolio. If that makes sense.
Could you have the developer just include the art as part of the development, and that they would work with a local artist or a pool of artists? I don't know, just so it's kind of
Absolutely.
their thing?
So I think there's two pieces. So one is the committee could make a recommendation to council that public art be considered as a fundamental component of any development application. And how that's articulated, I think that's a whole big, but maybe that's simply so that at least if it goes to it, and it could be, and included in the development permit guidelines, for example. So at least a developer gets, and they say, well, here are the guidelines I have to meet to build the vernacular of what I'm building. Public art is one of them. How they incorporate that, they could do murals, they could do art doors, they could do a sculpture, they could do light, they could do whatever.
Would it be
And we just approve the design.
Well, we could or we couldn't. So the public art policy outlines that they can bring it to us to go through a vetting process that we do, or they can just commission it themselves. If they're paying for it, they can commission it.
Would it be an idea to in that wording, encourage public art within new developments or developments that are being rezoned, but give the option that cash and lieu could go to the public art committee, possibly? Because I feel like some developers take the stance that they're not artists and they wouldn't know how to do
Well, if
something.
you present the committee as a resource for them.
Yeah.
And that's how it should go.
Yeah.
Then that will probably help them.
That's happening
if they're
already.
inclined.
I know some developers will say, we're gonna allocate this amount to the public art committee to determine what it is. Most developers, if they're gonna spend $100,000 on art, they want it on their property. One of the things the City of Vancouver councillor came to speak to us very early on in the committee was new developers they're good developers are going to put public art. They understand the intrinsic value of the art in a development. The challenge is that you get the have and have not communities, and so the existing communities don't see public art because they don't have that investment going on. And so the public art committee, so what Heather Deal said was, developers are expected to put art on their projects. The voluntary community managed contribution is for art everywhere, and would go to the committee to be art everywhere. So it's kind of like art is an expectation of the new development,
Yeah.
but a CAC could also go to the public art committee to ensure that art is proliferating throughout the community. So I think if that's what the committee wants to do, we can try to articulate that clearly for council to consider. Is that fair enough? I always find it a little hard, these conversations. I don't want to, I know what I'd like to hear when I'm on council, but I don't want to, it's up to the committee to help articulate that. But it gives you an understanding of what but right now, there's nothing that says a developer should have public art in their development. And there's technically nothing, you can use voluntary community managed contributions for public art, but you don't, but it's discretionary to council. Yeah.
Now, this conversation started last meeting, and so what the conversation that continued beyond, well, how do we inject public art into new developments, and thus the conversation that you'll see on the agenda around adding a member of the public art committee to the help me out here. ADP committee.
Yeah.
Which stands
So let's-
for Advisory Design Panel.
That works with developers?
So the city has an advisory design panel, and all development applications in DP areas, so we've designated if you're downtown, if you're in the business park, if you're here, there's DP areas for environmental reasons, the riparian reasons, there's a whole bunch of different ones. But within those DP areas, you have to bring your project to a committee, and it's made up of architects, landscape architects. I met Magic the first time we were on the ADP together years ago. Business owners, developers. So it's a body of experts predominantly, and some members at large, community citizens at large, who basically vet the architecture, the colors, the landscaping, the whole sort of external vernacular, given the guidelines. They might say more overhangs here, or the foliage should be more indigenous to the south coast, or like don't put palm trees, that kind of thing. So that's what the ADP does. It's a very, it's a group of experts who are there to sit and vet projects and hopefully raise the bar in terms of architecture and all that sort of stuff.
So you need someone on there
From the arts, yeah. So I think, we'll get to that in the agenda. I'm just cognizant of time.
Good night. There's a couple of things that I would appreciate a conversation around. It doesn't have to happen tonight, but one is the objectives, and one is the public art priority. So that's item 1 and item 7.
Can you say what page?
Yeah. 1 is on page 3. 7 is on page 8.
Okay, and about the objectives that you wanted to touch on?
1 is the objectives, which is with number 1 on page 3.
Yep. What would you like to say about
Well,
that?
I just think it's interesting that, and I just wondered if we need to review that, expand it, contract it, or if that is still
Sure.
sufficient. And the same with the public art priorities. Do you have a
So
couple
how,
of
would you
questions?
like to expand it? Had you thought about?
Well, I don't know if people have had a chance to really read it and think about it and look at it, or if we want to do that now, or if we want to defer it. Because the question, the next review date is 2019. Are we actually working to that date in terms of these changes? Or is this a review and changes that are happening before that review date?
The last meeting, we said we haven't looked at the policy since the Public Art Committee started. So why don't we go have a look at the policy, and if there's things that we really need to change, we should make recommendations to council to change them. So that's what we're doing right now.
Okay, and then it'll be reviewed again, next review date?
No.
It may be.
Yeah.
The committee can
you're
review
right.
it at any time.
Yes.
Okay, I'm just trying to get a sense in my head of how thorough we need to be of this review, because I didn't see it until just today to go through. And there are people who are new to the committee who might have some really good ideas on it, that's all.
I suspect this is not the end of the conversation, this is the beginning of the conversation.
Okay.
Yeah, and to manage expectations of the committee, realistically, I will not get to rewriting this until probably late September, early October.
Okay, so there'll be another opportunity.
Yeah, I just thought we'd get some dialogue going, then people can go
Yeah.
and they can think about it, they can,
Well, and that was
digest
my
it.
objective to say, I think, you know, if we actually, I would be interested in some conversation around the objectives and public art priorities, but not tonight necessarily.
I do think that adding someone on the ADP is a priority.
yeah, I think
It's on the
we'll get that on the agenda, yeah.
Oh, is it? Yeah.
So, so I think something that maybe we won't decide on today, but something we should think about is how do we figure out a sustainable funding for this? And how do we inject the expectation of new developments simply having public art? And that's not necessarily considered a CAC. But above and beyond that, there may be consideration of CACs that would come to the committee for the committee to determine where that art is. Now, a developer may decide to use the committee as a means to put out a public art call or a competition, or as a sounding board on art that they want to include in their development, just as a resource, and that's part of that's in the policy, so that could happen already. Anyway, so just think about that.
Can I ask another question?
Yeah, go ahead.
The objectives, item C and item H, celebrating Squamish's diverse cultural roots, building understanding between diverse cultures, and then honoring local history, encouraging the maintenance of artifacts, blah, blah, blah. Are those part of the development permit kind of thing or there's no mention of art whatsoever in that? Is there any reference to the objectives of the public art?
Committee in the
Specified here?
DPs?
Yeah.
Not directly, but there might be overlapping principles. I don't think there's a direct reference to any of the DPs to the public art policy. However, honoring the local history could be part of, it's not mandated within DPs, but it could be part of how the guidelines are, I just don't know off the top of my head.
Yeah, I'm just thinking that the objectives here, as specified here, are useful perhaps to developers to say, okay, this is really where they want to go, rather than we want to change Squamish into Hawaii. I mean, I don't know.
Yeah, so I'm wondering, Devin, if you could maybe send out the DP guidelines, because you guys love reading policy,
You'd be surprised.
to the committee. I do it all the time, so it's like catnip to me, but but maybe send it out so the committee understands what DP guidelines, and if people see an opportunity to embed or infuse some of these things within the DP guidelines for the ADP to be considering as they go through their deliberations, and that's valuable, absolutely.
Because people might not know that. When we actually look at public art priorities, this is on page 8, this 7.1, priorities for the development of public art shall be established and reviewed on an annual basis by the Public Art Committee and presented to council for approval. Do we do that?
Sorry, where are you, Meg? Are you
I am on page 8.
8?
Definitions?
Page 8,
Page 8. 7.1.
Page 14?
Page 8 of 14?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
So she's got the original, not this version.
Thank you, that's why.
Page 8 of the policy, not page 8 of the agenda. Got it.
Sorry.
It's
Okay,
page
thank
14
you.
of the whole thing.
Sorry, which one were you doing?
7.1.
Point 1. Priorities for the development of public art. Priorities, well, not really.
To developments.
Yeah, I see.
No, it's not, but it's just general policy since we're looking at this.
Yeah.
kind of sort of-
Anne?
So it sounds to me like Meg's, what she's bringing to the table, and also what we're discussing with these CACs, suggests that maybe 1.2, which is to encourage contributions to public art for both private developments and municipal capital projects. Perhaps this requires a strategy or some sort of guideline
Yeah.
for that. And I think like all of these points that we're raising point to that, right? To
A better integration, yeah.
some sort of thinking around that.
And I think I don't think we've done this as a formalized, just back to the 7.1.
Yeah.
But we do at the beginning, the Public Art Committee does at the beginning of the year, and council sort of endorsed this, is we have our maintenance fund, we have our small projects fund, and we have our major projects fund, which have just been putting away in reserve, and councils endorsed that program a couple of years ago. This is the first year we're actually accessing the major projects funds. And technically, I think the policy says anything under a certain amount, $20,000 can be approved by us, and any projects over 20 have to be technically approved by council. I think that's a really low number, but everything we've done so far has been under $20,000. So when we get to the point of confirming this major art project, council may have to make a decision on yes or no, it goes forward or not.
I'd say that the wording, however, is competitions, not the confirmation of a project. So technically our major project would fall under, oh no, it's under still?
Our major project is over.
Over, yeah.
Oh yeah, considerably over.
Yeah, because the wording just references competitions versus.
Are you looking at 8.1?
Yes, sorry, 8.1.
And it's competitions and or initiatives. Maybe it should say that more broadly as opposed to just competitions.
Yes, but technically you have been granted authority because it was budgeted in the 2018 budget cycle, so council has approved the public art.
The budget.
Yeah, I mean, you could, there's a bit of a like cyclical
Yeah.
authority there.
Yeah, it's been granted.
Yeah, and priorities may be a way of saying budget. So the council approves how much money they allocate. So they approve the budget,
Yes.
but they don't necessarily, we don't necessarily go and say, we have these 3 murals and this, and we're gonna paint these hydro boxes and this. Council
About these
approves the
banners
minutes
and
of
this.
everything and approves the budget. And we haven't done one over 20,000 yet, so we haven't tested that one yet.
And then 7.2, I was interested in a cross-section of public sites throughout the community that would benefit from art revitalization should be considered for art projects. And I'm just wondering, that cross-section of public sites throughout the community, is there an inventory of that? I mean, how do we actually work with that, or is it pretty much ad hoc as it comes?
Currently, it's ad hoc. Although with our first project, we did, it was 3 neighborhoods, right? So we have one in Brackendale, one in the Highlands, one downtown.
There was discussion on having it in other neighborhoods.
And those are the metal
taking
salmon.
it forward. Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. There was a discussion at the time that we would have it, we pick those 3 neighborhoods and then potentially go to other neighborhoods as it goes on. We just haven't revisited that yet.
Mhm. Mhm. Yeah.
It's just, there's really good information in here. It's just, it's something to grow into, I think.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Literally, I think this is the first time any group or any person has
Yeah.
put their mind to the public art policy since it was adopted 5 years ago.
Whoever did this sure did a lot of work. It's great.
Yeah.
It is, it's huge.
Any other things that the committee wants us to put their minds to? We're not gonna make any determinations tonight, but is there something that you think, oh, the committee should think about this?
The only other thing that I really liked was, again, the very last page, which is public art inventory record form. And I don't know if we've actually been keeping that, given time restraints and everything else and limited time.
Well, actually, it's the Squamish Arts Council mandate to do that within this public. No, we started that, but it's been really ad hoc, as you know, so it'd be great if we start, and maybe, just briefly for the new members, can you put that up there, the public art inventory site? So we have on our GIS mapping program on,
Test my skills here.
we're basically trying to start an inventory of public art, and Meg's been good at going out and taking a picture and sort of filling in, but just, if we can all go out and just, if we see public art, snap a picture, go onto the website, even if you don't know all the information, here's a picture, and we'll start to say, oh, the artist, it was done in 1997, the artist was X.
We include guerrilla art?
I think any kind of art should be on there for sure.
At least as a
Well,
conversation
because then we get a
starter.
sense of where our art is,
Mhm.
and maybe we need to go in and add more art.
Yep, we
Well,
haven't seen
we
this
really
yet.
do, 'cause
So,
by any art, like you walk into the banks?
Any public
or-
art.
No,
Anything's in the
public
public
art,
realm.
yeah, it's really the arts.
So we
So
don't have any, we don't have an inventory of that.
Correct.
But would it be public art that was installed, not particularly gone through this?
No, I think what we're trying to do here
Okay.
is anything that's out there, if, Stan's murals that he's done, someone might have carved something in a park somewhere.
Okay.
There's a Mosaic project outside, and again, where's that information? Where does it come from? How does it get lost?
Yeah, there's not a repository.
Yeah, exactly, so that's,
You can't find it.
you can't find it. Could we actually ask that it be sent to the new members?
Yeah, we'll-
we'll
Absolutely.
resend
Send
it
that
out.
link,
Yeah.
so that then we can look at it.
Not searchable either.
Because I don't even think that's public yet, is it?
I agree with you. I think that it isn't public as it, like it's live,
Yeah.
but it hasn't been published in terms of pushed out or anywhere on our website. So therefore, it's
It's
really
still
only
more
you
or less
guys that
in-house.
know about it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So in order to
Oh, there's a
access
front end
it-
and a back end. Do you want me to send you the link?
That's
I've
right.
got I can send it to
I
you,
can't
Dana.
open up my
But we
email here.
won't, even if we won't, because we're not district staff, we won't be able to have a look at it.
No, you will be able to.
Oh,
Yeah,
sure,
absolutely.
because listen, I've been loading stuff. on
So
there.
here's, I don't know if people can see this. Kelsey, does this help you? Kelsey's going nuts in there. But you can see these little, you want
All
to,
mapped out?
you can't get your email over there now?
No, because I have to log in and it always.
It's interactive.
Yeah.
That's very nice.
Exactly.
So let me just zoom in on one of these.
Do things with it.
So you could create like a walking tour of art in Squamish.
Exactly.
Pretty much, yeah. That's really nice.
We haven't got to that piece yet.
We're getting there.
Well, just
So-
trying to get in.
I think these are you put the hydro boxes on here, so I'll click on that.
Did you
Yeah.
put them on?
Kayak, Squamish.
I put 3 of them on. Not 5 of them.
What do you need, just how high is the resolution of the JPEGs that you need?
Whatever.
For now.
It really,
They can be
we'll take
replaced.
whatever.
Okay.
Yeah.
And we just email it to you?
No.
No, you just load it
Oh,
on.
you
You don't need
load
GPS
it.
coordinates
Yeah.
or anything like
We
that?
load it, put the picture.
If you
on
actually
it.
take it with your
It's
phone,
open source.
it automatically
Yeah.
has those GPS
Yeah.
coordinates on. Yeah, so when it actually goes up, then it
This
moves
does.
around and
On an
says.
iPhone?
Yeah.
So one thing, we
brother's
haven't really
watching
opened
you.
this up to the public, but that might be a way to really sort of get people involved in this. Let's open it up to the public and say, hey, we want you to go out there.
Photograph.
We would still edit it. We would still have editing powers. Go out there, take a picture of public art, upload it onto the site.
It would be really, one of the things my experience has been, it's much easier to load information on when you're just loading it rather than going in through the back and changing the information. So it's really nice to have a little bit of information if you've got it. If people don't, then I'll take some photographs of some of the stone sculptures and then other people can fill in the details. But we're trying to figure out, to provide the information of what it is, where, when, where, everything, right? So if we're opening it up to the public and we get inundated, then we won't have access to all that information necessarily. It sounds like a lot of work to do it that way.
Oh, yeah, I mean, it has to be a group effort. But
Go to the arcgis.com, squamish.maps.arcgis.com,
Squamish. Oh my.
squamish.maps.
Squamish.
maps.arcgis.com.
arcgis.com.
Just try that and see where you get to. We have this whole very cool open source, you can create your own data sets and mapping sets, and it's very cool. We want to work. Well, staff, we got really good staff. We take all the credit, but staff really do all the work.
Sign in.
And is there something that says apps anywhere? Okay, if you want to keep going, you do /apps. Good. Keep going. .com /apps. Try try that now. Good thinking. Anyway, this is what it's like.
Yeah. I'll send it out to you guys.
And
Thank
then, so this is
Can you
the,
just click on one of the things just so people can see what the information is?
so there's a picture of the hydro box. And
There's
then
a
it
little bit
says
of information.
kayak Squamish, and there's a little information. I'll show you the location on there. So this is, the one I showed before was the back end where you go in and you put the information in. This is the front end that you can see. So,
And actually that
and then, oh,
front end, you can't see the entire thing either because there actually is more information in there in terms of who's the artist and a little bit of description of it and that kind of thing.
it's actually a pretty good map.
Here we go.
Thank you. So these are all different open source maps and programs and stuff that either our staff or mostly our staff, but other people have done. It's called Story Map Crowdsource Estuary Business License.
There we go, Squamish.
There we go. Phew!
So you can put a button for it just right under the logo on the homepage?
So like
Yeah,
just
so
roll over one of them?
See this participate?
Yeah. Yeah.
So that's where you essentially add a piece of public
it.
art. So this is where you drag and drop, and this is all mobile enabled, so you can be standing there and immediately take a picture and drop it in and fill it in, and it's always editable. So if you just want to get it in for the sake of getting it in, then we can always adjust it from the back end. So it doesn't have to be perfect, we just want it populated.
Yeah.
And you can pull that up on your phone.
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah. And I will still send everyone out the links. And,
Yeah. It might, I think we talked about this before, maybe just getting a domain like squamishpublicart.com so we can have a real simple
real simple, yeah. We
directional domain that can go to this.
Yeah, we'll make it public.
But
and
like,
put
for
it
example, I mean, click over one of them.
the Rainbow Mosaic, just because it was right
But,
there.
you know, as we develop Squamish as a cultural destination, these tools would be really important.
Exactly.
Absolutely.
So, and then scroll down over where the mosaic is, you can see the more information. No, go where the mosaic.
The picture.
Yeah, and then
Yeah.
scroll down,
Yeah.
there.
All right, but that's limited because there's actually more information there, so we can't see the whole thing.
That's
I
right,
think
and
if
I
you-
had tried to get that fixed before with the, because the back end information was much more robust, and so it's just not showing up in the front end, so there's fields that aren't talking to one another.
Okay, so maybe we'll just make sure. Anyway, if you're open about,
Everybody can contribute
Yeah.
to that, which is
but
very cool.
maybe it's something we do a bit of a media push, social media push. We've never really done that yet. We're mostly sort of just relying on committee members to do it.
Just a question, maybe we can look into it, but is it possible to do an iframe on a third-party website like the Arts Council's website so that people can see this? But
That would be really smart.
yeah.
Absolutely.
Is that, I don't know.
I can't see why you would.
Understand the question.
Wow.
What's an
We can-
I'm sure we can do it.
Yeah.
I'm sure we can. You guys.
I call it
People can
talk. And maybe the
Exclamation
Sea to
can be
Skies Arts Councils too.
We're gonna, that website's coming down.
Is it?
Yeah, that's another.
We'll have to have coffee.
Yeah.
So let's just, considering we want to be out of here in the next half hour, so give some good ideas of what to think about in terms of public art parks, and maybe go through and actually sort of put your mind to, yeah, let's augment this, and in the meantime, maybe Devin will just work on the references for the Squamish Arts Council, where that's in there, where it really should be district still. We can tweak that stuff, so don't worry about that. Terms of reference, there was a suggestion that we add the Arts Council as one of the members, a specific designated member. Why don't we entertain a motion that we change the terms of reference to have a designated spot for the public, for Squamish Arts Council on this committee. Moved by Catherine, seconded by Jackie. All those in favor? Opposed? Motion carries. How many members do we have on the committee right now? How many spots?
The committee shall be composed of 16 members, including 1 council member and 15 members of the community as appointed by council.
It's a really big committee, which makes quorum sometimes difficult. So I'm just wondering if there's one of these spots that are currently, I'm just trying to find the page, currently designated that so we're not necessarily growing the size of the committee, we're redesignating the appointment to,
Yeah, quorum's always 6.
so we have a Squamish-based architect or landscape architect who has we've never been successful at getting anybody. Wait, this is the ADP.
Mayor, that might be an old copy because there have been updates to the terms of reference and the architect portion has been removed.
So there's a developer and an architect. Okay, so they're removed. I've got an old version of the terms of reference then.
That's part of the policy, but that's the up-to-date version, sorry. That's the amended copy there that I have here.
So I'm just wondering if we want to, so Squamish Nation artists, yes, youth representative, yes, downtown BIA, yes, and then we have 6 artists and 6 citizens at large.
It's this.
And sometimes that is an interchangeable. So why don't we take one of the 6,
Citizens.
one of the citizens at large? I think we can, why don't we take one of the artists? An artist always can be a citizen at large too, like generally people who are interested in art are going to want to be on this committee, so we'll just change that, just so we just don't keep growing the committee. It's a big committee already. Anything other than terms of reference we want to make a suggestion now, or I think everything else was.
The committee has reviewed the terms of reference as recently as spring of 2017. I know it says updated May
Yeah, we did
2017,
do
but
it
we did.
about a year or so.
Yeah.
But did we move and did we
Just
pass
to
that?
let you know, there's 6 members at large on the committee right now.
Oh, are you a member at large? Well, now there's 5.
Catherine's a member at large, Anna, Sydney, but I guess she moves into.
Yeah, so we're gonna take
Okay,
a member.
so then we're good.
So it's okay, yeah.
Yeah,
okay.
we'll make it work. Okay,
That's why I
did
turned
we
you
call
into
a question on
artist.
that?
You didn't, but you can now.
Call the question. All those in favor? Opposed? Motion carries. Let's move on in the agenda if everyone's okay with that. Truth and Reconciliation artist call. So just a recap, we had our first deadline for the new members. We started our major, we sort of squirreled away our money, so we had a little bit of funding, and how much was it? We had 85 in the bank or something?
87,
87,000 in the bank.
right here.
And we wanted to do a fairly major, significant project in 2018. The committee determined that we wanted to focus on truth and reconciliation and sort of themes around the Indigenous peoples of the area. We, as a committee, went and met with the elders of the Squamish Nation and got some ideas and feedback and direction from them on how we can proceed with this. And one of the main things we heard was they want to showcase Native art and artists. And so we decided to do sort of 2 phases of a Truth and Reconciliation program. One is a call to specifically to First Nations artists. So technically, there's 2 nations that our district boundaries go into. We touch on the Tsleil-Waututh a little bit. We're predominantly right smack dab in the middle of Squamish Nation territory. So we, out of respect for both nations, so that our border our territory.
Sorry, what was the first one?
Tsleil-Waututh.
Oh, okay.
So they're a smaller nation on the North Shore predominantly. Squamish and Tsleil-Waututh have quite a bit of overlapping territory. So we put out a call a month and a bit ago. We had our first deadline, it passed a couple weeks ago. We didn't have any response, but we don't think the communications really got out to the nation's artists. So we basically extended the deadline, and we're trying to be a little more proactive at getting the information right into the artists' hands.
I was gonna say, what channels are you using to get right into the artist?
Well,
we Peak, the Chief, Facebook, our website. They were emailed to
band offices.
Yeah, exactly.
But I think we need to be more direct. We need
That's
to
what
say,
she said.
send it to this person and say, please send this out to your list of artists, and actually be proactive about getting it out there.
Can I make a suggestion? Because we went and talked to the elders here, and we heard from them directly that they wanted support for their artists, can we try and make an effort to get that to the elders?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so that they can use their networks internally to say, okay, you guys, we've asked for this, we've got a response from this, so let's go with it.
Great suggestion. What I'll do is I'll talk to Suecia, and even if committee members want to have another debrief with the elders, is you going to that extent, or are you thinking more
Because
just?
our formality is an interesting challenge at times, and sometimes the word of mouth through those communities is really useful.
Yeah.
And the other thing is, I don't know if anybody's talked to Rick Harry, who's the noted Wellacton.
I'm hoping Suecia pulled their brother.
So I hope so, but he also is connected and he knows who so again, I don't know formally compared to informal, but I really think informally we need to make that
Well,
effort.
and the Nation has a list of artists with all their contact information, and I think unfortunately what happens is things get to band offices or go into people's desks, and they're just over inundated with work, and it just doesn't, so we need to be a little more proactive about getting that.
So they have families of artists too, so to
Yeah.
approach it from the family and the connection through the elders.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
definitely the connection through the elders.
Yeah. Okay, so we'll do that.
Is there, can I throw it back out to the committee? Is there someone on the committee that wants to take this on with me?
Well, I think Suecia we work directly with Suecia.
Okay.
I can certainly do it too. You sent it out to Councillor Wilson, who had expressed some interest in it, so hopefully, I don't know if he got back to you or not. Yeah. So we'll endeavor to get it into the hands. Anyway, my thought on this is, on another note, we had expectations of some additional funding coming through Van City, and they've had a reorganizational shuffle, and so those funds that we thought we were getting aren't necessarily secured. So now we don't think we have as much money to do these sort of two major projects, which are going to be in the $65,000 range each project. And so what we might want to consider is this phase might take until November to do, and then maybe in January we go out with the second phase. I mean, I think I was all gung-ho on getting it done for 2018, but this is going to take longer than I think we all anticipated. So I'm not sure the phase 2 piece, what I'm trying to get is we don't need to finalize this today.
Correct.
I suspect we should just focus in on phase 1, get that going. Once that's going, it might bring some more attention to phase 2 anyway. So it's okay to sort of, we'll just park this
Absolutely.
until September, October at least? Okay. Staff updates. We've got 17 minutes.
No problem. I always, for the new committee members, I always have a running kind of budget total, just as a overview. So the major project envelope for 2018 was 87,000. The annual budget, 15 for minor projects, 10 for maintenance. And this will be your running spend total. So we will be adding $2,000 to
And
and $400. And then we'll continue to go from there. We're working on the plaque for the Stan Clarke Park Mosaic, so I don't see that taking up more than, $1,200. We're not anywhere with it in terms of like ready to show you anything, but we're.
But it will at some point come back here.
Exactly, it will at some point come out of that budget.
Excuse me.
I didn't
Yeah,
see
go
the
ahead.
first- I didn't see the first.
Oh, the first screen.
Oh, okay.
So yeah, we've allocated about 60K for the first one, and we have 27K remaining, and so what I'm thinking is we get an additional budget in 2019, we take a big chunk of that, and we then have a, yeah. And still, we can still look for some other funding from other sources too. There may be some funding coming through, some developments and stuff like that, that may help with this as well.
Oh, I see, so it's not going, part two is not going to be this year.
Well, not with our current funding,
Yeah,
so.
okay.
It may be later in the year, but, okay.
So I was hoping on having a.
And so, any questions about the budget from new people? Okay.
I was hoping to have a render of the Stan Clarke Park mosaic pieces, but the planner wasn't able to get them ready in time, which is not a problem, so I'll email it out to you guys. The current recommendation is to have the pieces of that came out of the existing mosaic and that were kept to be flanked on either side of the park entrance. Raised and flanked. So right now we're working on a budget that would come out of an operational budget and would not hit the public art budget. So we're once again okay there.
So, you guys know what we're talking about?
I don't know what you mean by flanking it
Okay.
raised. I'm trying to visualize it, but.
So right outside the door here, there's a big mosaic. It was part of a big youth engagement program that actually when Meg was on council and the door
Nice.
And it's about 20 years old now, and it was particularly the winter, 2 winters ago, really wreaked havoc on it. The snow machines ripped stuff up and was becoming quite ruined. And so the last 2 winters, there was plywood over it one winter, and then with some rubberized stuff to just try to diminish the degradation. Got quite degraded. With Catherine's sort of help, we engaged with a couple of mosaicists that sort of do this, and they said, yeah, it's going to be a lot of money to rehabilitate, and it's right in the middle of a walkway. So we took it out, took those sections out, and we paved, so it's just cement right now, concrete?
Yeah.
And we took it out in blocks with the idea that we'd somehow try to rehabilitate these blocks a little bit and then have them in and around where this rainbow is currently. And exactly how that is going to look, I don't think we've determined yet, but we want to make it not just sort of a haphazard thing, but something, and have a bit of a plaque there that commemorates and explains the public art.
Why we actually did it.
Yeah, why,
Some of the intention.
yeah. So to honor it. So that's been something that the Public Art Committee's sort of been driving for a little while, with the help Public Works has been great at actually sort of doing the heavy lifting, literally and figuratively, and the financial lifting on that one, which is nice because it would deplete our budgets pretty quickly.
Pretty
Yeah,
great.
it's very expensive.
So I won't wait to show you what the planners come up with. I'll just email it out to the committee.
But I think it is important that the committee see what this elevated
I agree.
and placement of it looks like.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And will there be a photograph of the original kind of thing as well? We talked about doing that. So
On the plaque,
Yeah.
there could be a photo on it.
do we actually have a photo?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. We've got lots of photos of this.
Of the
I have
ones that we
photos
took
Of the
out.
original before it was heard? Okay, excellent. Okay, thank you.
And just a quick update for Mayor for a Day Crosswalk. So these were the two winning entries. If you have gone to squamish.ca over the last little while, you will have seen this glorious piece of artwork by none other than Emmy, age 9, from Squamish Montessori School, along the banner of our website. So that has been completed. And then Jonas Casey, who is from Squamish Waldorf, we will be working on laying this down at the crosswalk at the corner in Valley Cliff, which is down the street from the Waldorf school in which Jonas attends. So we're working on placement and budgeting right now with capital projects.
Yeah, and just as a backgrounder on this, every year during Public Works Week and Local Government Awareness Week, I have a mayor for the day, and so kids from all the schools send me music and art and poems and write-ups and visions and dreams. And so there's Mayor for Day winner, but the last couple of years we've been doing, send us your ideas to do an artistic crosswalk. And so last year was the first year, and a girl from Brackendale won, and you saw that Friends thing. It's kind of, this type of art only stays about a year and then has to be repainted every year. So anyway, so this year that was the winner, and so that'll be.
Sorry, where's the first one going?
The first one, it's just a banner.
We
It's a
liked
banner
it,
on the website.
but it was a little complicated to put in a
Yeah.
crosswalk, so we put it on our website as a banner just to say.
I was thinking of mural.
There you go. It's great, yeah.
Yeah. Right. And that includes staff updates.
Fantastic. Any questions? When do we anticipate that one in Valley Cliff to be painted?
August.
Is that
late
when they
August.
do the paintings for the year?
They haven't followed up with me. They are working on it in terms
Can you
of
follow
the
up with
budget.
them?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
The last time I checked in, they were still awaiting quotes to do it properly.
Okay, excellent. Thank you. There are no recommendations to councils or referrals from council. Roundtable, and we have 7 minutes. Anyone with any roundtable? You want to talk about the Wind Festival? Oh, go
No,
on.
we need to talk about the position for the ADP.
ADP, sorry, yes, there was one more addition to the agenda. So, do you want to preface it? Do you want me to preface it?
You're so good at this.
Okay. Blah, blah, blah. So, we explained what the ADP is. It used to be, actually, when Maciek and I were on the ADP 10 years ago or so, the president of the Arts Council sat on the ADP, I think just as a member at large. It was Christine Etchett at the time, I think.
Advisory design.
Yeah. So I can't remember where it came from. Did it come from the committee? Yeah, it came from the committee saying maybe we should have someone from the Public Art Committee on the advisory design panel to make sure that that type of conversation is happening and that type of input on public art and public realm, built environment is influencing ADP conversations and directions. I guess the first question is anyone interested in sitting on the ADP? They meet.
Interested, but
Okay.
I don't know, should we have an artist on it, or?
I think it's more of a liaison to make sure that the direction and sort of the goals and work plan of the Public Art Committee is being considered there, and also that liaising back to say, these are conversations happening at ADP, how does it influence our direction policy?
They meet.
They usually meet 1 day a month. Every once in a while, if there's tons of applications, they might have 2 meetings a month, but it's usually 99% of the time it's 1 day a month.
For the whole day?
And it's the third Thursday at 2 o'clock.
For the whole day kind of thing?
No, it's a 2.5 hour meeting on the third Thursday.
You go through all the applications.
And you go through whatever's on that agenda. There might be 2, usually there's 2 or 3.
Usually there's 2.
Evening
Yeah.
meeting or?
2 o'clock in the afternoon.
Okay.
I would love to do it.
Yep.
I'm interested.
You're both interested? Okay. Okay, so why don't we firstly just make a recommendation to council that they consider someone from the committee being sitting on the ADP. And then we can have an internal discussion of how we, and maybe, I mean, it's easy to sit here and go, yeah, I can make Thursday afternoon meetings, but sometimes go, oh, maybe. So it's great that there's interest, love it, but maybe the first one is just make sure we actually get someone on there. So make the motion.
Maybe define a bit of a role.
Yeah.
What-
Well, and maybe what we'll do is have a planner come in and talk a little bit about ADP.
Well,
In
how about
September?
I send out the mandate, they also have the bylaw.
Yeah, and maybe just send out a link to the last agenda, so you can sort of see, or even a link to you can link to the archived videos too, if you want to have a look at what they discuss at the meeting. It's actually a pretty high functioning group of professionals that
Are people allowed to just come and sit and listen?
100% open to public. Yeah. So motion to recommend to council that a member of the Public Art Committee be included in the terms of reference for the ADP.
And I support it.
Seconded by Jackie. What's that?
It's a bylaw.
It's a bylaw? Moved by Meg, seconded by Jackie. Any more discussion? All those in favor? Opposed? Motion carries. Sorry. My life's goal is to torment Kelsey. She's not even listening. And the funny thing is, when I first became mayor, we got comments on the website that said, the mayor's doing a really good job, but can she stop clicking her pen during the meeting? Anyway, we're good. So maybe send out those links. People who are interested, have a look. And it could be we have a primary and an alternate, so that if the primary can't make it, the alternate's there. Excellent. Okay.
The Wind Festival?
What's that?
The Wind Festival?
Oh, yeah.
Do you want to talk about a little bit the Wind Festival?
Sure, yeah. July 26th and 28th, it's going to be downtown in Junction Park and Stan Clarke Park this year. We're also joining forces a little bit with the farmers market, so we're extending the vendors to have a whole bunch of artisan vendors in the park. We're going to have live painting. Stan's going to be doing some murals there. Catherine's going to be doing a workshop on mosaics.
Nice.
Limited seats, but tickets are by donation, so it's a really great deal.
It is. It's a stepping stone project. I'll have the prototype finished this
Oh, neat.
weekend.
Yeah, so only 14 seats available, by the way.
For
For the mosaics workshop, that's
Yeah.
free. Halakton is going to be on site doing carving. We're going to have free screen printing from artist named Mary, who's also a muralist in town. So bring your shirt from home. You can have original screen printed shirts. We've got Hey Ocean headlining as well as John
Oh,
Welsh.
nice.
Yep, Hey Ocean's the headliner this year, John Welsh and Los Valientes.
Fantastic.
So it's going to be a great music lineup. That's all Saturday, and then the Friday is going to be an outdoor movie screening of Black Panther. A bunch of fun.
Oh, wow.
Which is a great movie.
I haven't seen it.
fabulous.
It's
Yeah.
fabulous.
Yeah.
Well done.
Yeah, so it's going to be
Wow, great
yeah,
lineup.
Yeah, big day on Friday. Lots of pre-show stuff. You want to bring the family down, have a picnic. There's going to be some food there. And then Thursday is the Wind Festival's version of Amped in the Park. So Amped in the Park is an ongoing music
Starts
series.
tomorrow night.
Starts tomorrow night. It's the first day of
I have to practice
season.
my ukulele tonight.
And so what Amped in the Park does is that it encourages emerging artists to come to the Ocean Pavilion stage and perform. We do a whole volunteer setup. The whole program is run by a volunteer committee as well, very much like this committee. And they're going to do a special performance during the Wind Festival, so that's going to be the 26th.
So is there information on the website to share social media?
Definitely. SquamishWindFestival.com is our festival
You haven't
website.
seen it yet? It's coming out on a regular basis.
Well, you've got the big sign up, I noticed, and the banners are up, which look
Banners
great.
up. Yep, big sign is up at Cleveland. There's a sign in the park now. And then, yes, there's a lot of digital presence this year.
Good.
So,
Wonderful.
yeah, I hope to see everyone there.
Good job with what they do.
We've got 3 minutes, so
I wanted to say one quick thing. It's kind of it's more directed at the mayor and council,
Mm-hmm.
but no, my company is running some art programming at the UBCM. We've been booked to do some. So if you guys are
Fantastic.
freaked out and wanting to punch each other, come on out and paint the painting. But you will have to book.
oh, that's good to know.
It's
Good for you.
Yeah, it's going to be for up to 30 people. It'll be at the Moya Art Center.
Fantastic.
And there will be wine. And at night there will be mimosas.
I've already signed up.
Yeah.
Done.
Yeah.
Excellent, cool, good
I'm
for
really
you.
thrilled about that.
Yeah,
Art walk?
It's happening, I think.
Yeah, so Art Walk is also happening. We are closing, so if you're an artist and you're interested in exhibiting for the Art Walk, please go to Squamishvisuals/Art Walk and submit your profile ASAP, because we're going to close all that down. Or if you know any venues that want to participate as well, both venues and artists. We're hoping to kind
When
of,
is it again?
it's going to be all month long in September.
Oh, September, okay, that's awesome.
Have you thought about that mapping kind of thing? Because there was talk about the mapping and actually to locate the different venues using the mapping program.
Like the GIS
Yeah.
mapping system? Yeah, it's, we can certainly look at trying to adopt that. Last year, we partnered up with the Sea to Sky Arts Council to do a mapping system through Arts Whistler. It's something that they donated their time for to do last year for us. We might do something similar,
Yeah.
change it this year,
Yeah.
It might not be time yet to do that.
I mean, our Open Data portal allows you to go in and make your own, so it's actually really simple. You can go just make a art walk map
Yeah, definitely.
and not have to get all complicated.
For sure, yeah, we can certainly.
Anne? We are out of time. Any burning issues for the round table? Awesome.
Other than we're not meeting next month, is it?
We're not meeting in August, but we will meet in September. Sounds good? All right, motion to terminate the meeting, moved by Meg, second by Matt. All those in favor? Opposed, motion carries. Thank you very much.